Now, bear with me. It's gonna get a little bit confusing here. I gotta take off my MC hat. I'm gonna become a panelist. Don't get confused. I'll still come back to MC. If we can have the AIOs on the panel come up. We've got AIOs from California's largest state agencies who have all played a role, pivotal roles in helping shape statewide governance initiatives, including the recently unveiled Envision 2026 technology strategy that Liana talked about earlier today. Sure, I'll take the middle. And I believe we have a video.
Good afternoon, everyone. Feels like I just saw you not that long ago. Today we are talking about leadership and collaboration. And one of the things we are going to be highlighting is obviously Envision 2026. But most of you know that when we talk about leadership, it's not about me, it's about we. And you've heard about that consistently today. It's about putting people first. And one of my calls to action was to innovate with a diverse mindset. And we have over, well, if you include me, we have over a century. But with the 4 panelists, we have over 86 years of government technology on the stage. Please give my panelists a round of applause. So I'm going to say at least one diverse thing from each of you. And so Marcie Kahbody, most of you know, she is the Deputy Secretary and Agency Chief Information Officer for the California Transportation Agency. She's also the CIO of Caltrans, so she has 2 hats. But in this last year, she actually won an esteemed Women Who Mean Business Award from the Sacramento Business Journal. Congratulations, Marcie. Amazing. And Adam, this is on your bio, but in addition to being the Director of Office of Technology Solutions Integration, OTSI, from California Health and Human Services Agency, you're also the Agency Chief Information Officer, you're Director, and so you kind of wear all hats. You actually worked for the California State Assembly as a policy consultant and a consultant for the Assembly Budget Committee. So if anybody wants the Legislature 101, you spent quite a few years there, so wow, that's amazing. And you shifted over from the legislature to the administration, so wow, we're so lucky to have you. Thank you.
Prior life.
And then Brian Wong obviously has worked at Health and Human Services, Deputy Secretary for Innovation and Technology at the Labor and Workforce Development Agency. Also was a CIO at the California Department of Social Services. But he comes to us with private sector experience that he worked at Oracle. I think you were a solution engineer, but you were very on the tech side.
Yeah,
so
very much on the technology.
Very lucky to have you.
Thank you.
And then Ron Robinette, Deputy Secretary and Agency Chief Information Officer at GovOps Agency. And not only have you served in many leadership, you've been a CIO at the Department of Community Services and Development. You also have a strong project background. So when we were going through working with public health and dealing with the digital vaccination, and I think you were even picked out of CDT working with the secretary, then director, to really push where we are from a public safety perspective at public health. So thank you so much. So again, diversity is how we achieve the best. And so when we were working together, as I say, it's not me, it's we, when we talk about establishing the State Technology Council, some of you were at different stages of your career when you joined the State Technology Council, but to my right, to your left, Adam and Marcie, you've been a part of that the longest. And so you probably were a little weary, me coming on board and saying, we really want to establish this new governing body. What did you see as a purpose and the benefit of STC? So we'll start with Marcie and then the same question to you, Adam.
Absolutely. Thank you, Liana. And, I've been the AIO for about 9 years. So I've been part of a lot of different committees. So when you came along and you brought up STC, and I'm going, oh shucks, another committee that I have to be part of. But you know, we've been part of the committees at CDT, and they've been very necessary. I mean, updates from CDT about the new technologies that they're tackling and everything that's coming up from CDT. And it was great to have that perspective. But STC is so different, and I'm so glad to be part of it, because now my experience counts. There is a value around the challenges that I'm going through. I'm being heard. I think just a collaboration between the CIOs and AIOs, just the fact that you're hearing us makes a whole lot of difference. The fact that we have a hand in changing the way we do things, looking at everybody's challenges. And when you talk to all the AIOs, we all have different business strategy or business needs, but our challenges are exactly the same. So it's fantastic that there's somebody that wants to make a difference and hears us. And also we have a part in creating the roadmap for the future of California. So collaboration, getting rid of silos, trying to reduce duplication. I think these are the fantastic values that I see out of STC. So I appreciate you, and I applaud you for that.
Thank you, Marcie. And for Adam, not only did we bring him on as a member, you're actually a vice chair. You wield power there. So anything you'd like to add to what Marcie was saying about STC and really just kind of your journey, like from the beginning and kind of where we've been now that we've been about 2 years in?
Yeah, I mean, I certainly echo everything that Marcie said. I also had a little bit longer journey with other CDT councils. I was staff with CDT back when it was OCIO and Technology Agency and CATA, if anyone remembers CATA. So I've been through quite a few iterations and seen those different models. And what I really appreciated about what you brought to it is that it wasn't just creating a new body in STC where we could talk about something different. You mentioned it during your opening. What you told us was, I want us all to come into the room and take off our agency hats, right? We are the senior technology leaders in the state, not from Cal HHS and from CalSTA, just period. We are the senior technology leaders. What would we bring to the table? What are the challenges we see? And not just what do we want CDT to fix, which is where a lot of the conversations were. It was about what is CDT doing at the statewide level? How does that affect each of us in our agencies? It was no, collectively, what are the things we need to get fixed or address or take advantage of opportunities? And then together, how do we best take advantage of those? And yes, often CDT plays a critical role, but not always, right? We have roles and responsibilities, and that mind frame shift, I think, was really profound.
Thank you. That amazing journey. Ron, as we were going and working, you kind of you're the new AIO on the panel. You know, working with all of your colleagues, and we were rolling up our sleeves and talking about Envision 2026. How did you feel? I mean, what was your thought about that, and what is your favorite goal, and why? Because we have a lot that we have to achieve over the next
Am I
few
the
years.
only one that gets credit for bringing it up on stage?
Yes, you get extra credit.
Yes, and Adam reminded me, thank you, Fred. If you're in the audience, I'm no longer the junior member of the AIO
that's right.
club.
Yeah, Fred is our junior.
Thank you. No, the work that was already done, I think it's huge applause from my colleagues of moving it forward, because I did join late, right before packaging, I think is when I joined. I joined just soon enough to get my name in the paper. So that was great. Thank you, Delegata, for doing that. I was at Department of Technology prior to this role, and saw us create the last state IT strategic plan during COVID. And so doing and trying to move forward 150 plus departments in one direction and get everybody to row the boat in the same direction. It's difficult during COVID, And I appreciate all of the work that went into leveling this up and getting us to the next phase. My favorite goal is the continually future-proof the business of government. Like you said, Director, over 100 years experience of the state on stage. My journey started in circa 1998. And first projects that I had going on back then were I had to analyze each access database that we had. It's not even a department anymore, Office of Statewide Health Planning and Development. It's the OCI?
HCI.
HCI. Analyze all the access databases for those 2-digit years, because the end of the world is coming for Y2K.
Yeah, 2000. Yeah.
And every decade, there is some opportunity for all of us as AIOs to meet the moment. In the early 2000s, it was adopting the internet technologies to get us to advance and move the needle on business. And then in the 2010s, we had to get everything into the cloud and take advantage of that technology. And now, like the panels that have come before us, I think in these 2020s, we have the opportunity to get to that untapped reservoir of data and turn that into some new insights for our business. I think that's part of the Gen AI work that we're doing and part of all the initiatives that we already have going is taking advantage of data that's there, structured and unstructured, and use that in new ways to advance the programs that we have in the state. Part of continually future-proofing the business, and this is me growing up in technology in the state, is that I don't want all of you, and this is call to action too for the audience, I don't want you to hesitate to innovate. Like we should start having that mindset to innovate today when we're walking out of this conference. This gives us an opportunity. I know we're all trying to finish our year-end 2024 activities, but we don't have to wait until 2025 to start thinking about how are we going to continually future-proof our businesses for the next year. These conferences give us an opportunity to build our relationships with each other, to tell the stories that we just don't make time for. And maybe on my New Year's resolution list is, as an AIO, I'm going to make time within my own agency and others. We've got to share these stories of success because there's a lot going on out there. And even though there's 150 departments, all these agencies have a different purpose and different stakeholders. I think we have more in common that we could share these stories and advance all departments in California to help deliver our services better. So that's my favorite goal, continuously future-proof, because I feel like I've been on this journey since '98 in the Y2K analysis of trying to get our businesses to the next level and deliver better services for California.
Thank you, Ron. A great goal. Brian, so we've had this journey, and this is the first strategic plan that is sponsored not just by the state CIO and CDT issues, it's actually sponsored from an executive level from STC. So explain to us what that means to you, and maybe what was your experience as we were kind of crafting this whole plan as a body?
Yeah, I mean, I think kind of echo what others have already said. I thought it was a great experience. I didn't know what really to expect. In the past, I felt like some of the meetings that we've had were, like you said, complaints about CDT or CDT needs to do this or CDT needs to do that. I think that's changed a lot, and that's a credit to you, Liana, so kudos to you on that. But yeah, I had a wonderful experience. All the AIOs were able to let their guard down and speak freely, and it feels like a real team, which is, really nice to be able to have these great folks here to bounce things off of. So yeah, it was a wonderful experience. I learned from it. I hope that I was able to share some information that helped others as well. And I'm just looking forward to see this take off and hope that people will embrace the work that was done here. I think it's something that's very relevant to all departments. I mean, I think, well, again, under your leadership, great job. I think it was just a very relevant and at the right level to where it's not overarching where people will feel like we're mandating something, but it's enough to guide people in the right direction. So yeah, kudos to you, and again, great experience.
Thank you, Brian. And just to open it up to all the panelists, obviously what you're seeing is goals, objectives, strategies, but one of the things we wanted, because we know that we want to be modular and innovative ourselves, we're establishing annual roadmaps, which are going to have, as we talk about OKRs, what are the key results, where are we making progress, not only, because like I was saying, things happen at the department level. That's where the most of success is. How do you feel like that is either a good design or maybe what is a challenge that we will be faced with when you talk about 150 different state departments and really getting us all roll in the same directions? I've been in 8 different departments, and it always felt like I was solving the same problems 8 different ways in 8 different departments. So you've all been around a long time. I mean, you and I have been on longest. So what is, from any of you, what would you like to say would be a challenge, but how we're going to potentially address that?
It definitely would be a challenge. Every time you want to create a unified vision, communication is the key. At CalSTA, I have the same challenge as you do on a bigger, or we do on a bigger scale. Bringing everybody under the same umbrella of, one IT is difficult. Not only just, I want to say, even at the departmental level is difficult. So communication is the key. Communicating what value it will bring, what is it that we need to accomplish. Creating actually, we had a couple of us that would just go to every district and share the vision and the value that it would bring to each district, because at Caltrans. So communication, bringing everybody under the same roof to talk about the vision and value and what it would give them. It's not about, okay, what is it that it's doing for me, or this is the AIO talking and this is my strategy. It's about what we are providing to Californians. What is it in our job that we are responsible for that we have to provide to the public? I think sometimes as technologists and even business folks, we kind of lose that vision that we need to provide services to public. We think that we have to get our hands on the latest gadget or latest technology that comes out instead of, okay, what is that going to do for the public, or what service is it going to make better, even internally or externally. So I think communication is the key with internal and external, and also vendor community. We need to constantly share that vision, and also your strategic vision on people first, driving technology further, and having public in mind. That's the key to show value.
Thank you, Marcie. And I know none of everyone, Adam and your organization just launched
Gen AI.
Yeah,
yes.
and Gen AI, and so there's a lot on future proofing, and then you just launched a strategic plan.
Yep.
And so you hear Marcie talk about communication. How do we take something that was just launched, very health focused,
Yep.
about envisioning healthy California? You're thinking about the business side, and then how do you communicate that back to what we're trying to achieve at SDC?
Yeah.
Any thoughts on that?
I mean, no question it is. It's a huge challenge. I will say that we were aligned, right? That's one thing in the relationship that you've built, right, in your time as the state CIO, is that though it was my internal strategic plan, right, that was shared out with you to get feedback and input, and you're thinking about yours at the same time, so we were able to build in some of that synchronicity, including we are also in the Cal HHS IT and Data Strategic Plan, including OKRs within smaller action plans that build in under, because we all recognize, like, you cannot have an actionable strategic plan that's readable, right? Like, it just gets too burdensome, and so you have to, right, build and kind of have layers underneath. And so we've got a very aligned model that I think will help us with tracking. But in particular, with my conversations with departments and in the way we tried to design our strategic plan, is we really focused on the individual. And so one of the most interesting things to me when I came into the Health and Human Services Agency was I knew everyone would be passionate about the work we do. And I thought that would make alignment easier. And what actually happens is everyone is so passionate about the program that they are focused on because it is important. Providing Medicare to children, foster care, food services, right? Educational services for new mothers, right? All these programs individually are of ultimate importance. And that gives people the feeling of autonomy to say, it's too important for me to look at all this other stuff.
Yeah, theirs is more important than others. Yeah.
Yes, and that was very interesting to me, and not wrong, right? Every one of them is right about how important their program is, but it made it so much harder to get them to lift their head up and think bigger. And so we really try with that communication and messaging to emphasize, we're not doing this because shared services are better than siloed services. We're not doing this because we need a common identity access management system. We're not even doing this because it's going to be cheaper. We're doing it because the mother that you're helping is also going to need to find childcare in 2 years, right? And that child in foster care needs food on their plate for it to matter, right? That they're getting health coverage through Medi-Cal. And so helping people step back and say, help us to help you. I didn't even know I was going to do that.
You're humanizing it. Yeah.
Right? And so really taking it back to that level where they can say, oh, investing time and energy into this enterprise view, be it at the agency or the state level, is not diverting those resources away from my critical mission. It is serving it in a different way.
Love that, thank you. And then Ron, you are at the helm of a very eclectic agency.
The
benefit, you have transportation, you have health, you have labor and workforce, you have quite a few of us, 3 control agencies, by the way. You have, franchise tax, CalPERS, CalSTRS, a lot of diverse and sometimes autonomous different groups. How do you plan to take Envision 2026 and help your CIOs achieve what's necessary?
Yeah, first it was, the prerequisite was to spend 7 years at CDT as a training ground and trying to work with the 150 departments and seeing, like you were saying, Adam, like hearing the stories from the individual programs and the different departments. As a lifelong Californian, and I know my colleagues up here as well, I take a lot of pride in this is my home state, and I want the government to work as efficiently as possible. And it's also a personal mission statement of mine, is just to be a plus in every situation that I find myself in. And I know that the departments out there are fighting the good fight. Like, nobody shows up to work and wants it to work less efficiently or less effective or less equitable than it was the day before. And it is a privilege to work with the state CIO as one of the departments within our government operations agency, and to have I thought we were going by the coaching agencies now. We're controlling and we're going to coach you up at the same time, right? For whether it's technology, procurement, Enrique, HR, the control agencies, the coaching agencies, I think have a unique perspective that our technology, our innovations, our programs get to interact with all 150 plus departments and try to move the needle in the right direction, be a plus for all the departments and the work that they do. So I think it's really prideful of all the technologists that we have in our agency. We take it as a great privilege that we get to work with all of you and try to be of assistance in raising up your programs that you have, whether it's in Gen AI proof of concepts, or it's the biggest project that anybody's ever seen, Brian. It's whatever you're up to. It's about having the message that we're not 3 arm lengths away from the program and the person that receives the services from the departments and the programs. We're 1 arm length away from helping them to help somebody receive a service or receive the benefits that our departments provide. So that's the privilege, and just having that reminder for our CIOs within our agency and having that message from Secretary Tong that it's in our name, government operations. We want to make it work more efficiently, more effective, and more equitable for everyone. So
Nicely said. I'll let her know that you.
I used her tagline.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get $1, I think, from it. Thank you.
Thank you. And so, Brian, we've talked about the strategic imperatives, right? Being our true north, when we talk about being, people first, security
Sure.
always, lead with purpose. What does that mean to you?
Well, I think about the people first part. I mean, that can mean a lot of different things. But for me, what comes first to mind is the people that we serve, right? Ron touched on that and did a really good job of articulating that. We're here to provide services to the people of California, right? We're not here to be technologists, to do technology for the sake of doing technology. As somebody that's been in IT for quite a while, I can remember having that mindset as a younger person, just thinking, oh, this is really cool, let's do this. But what's the actual business problem we're trying to fix? And if you have to pause and think about that, you're probably not going down the right path. But yeah, so I think about the people, right? The people we serve. I think about our employees, the people that work for us and help make the state of California go. We talked a little bit, Marcie and I were both part of the workforce goal, right? Strengthening the IT workforce. It's something I know I'm very passionate about. I know that my peers are as well. Honestly, I think we've got to do better, right? We've got to really invest in our people because our people are the greatest asset. Technology is technology, right? We've got Gen AI. We could talk about that all day long, but I don't know if we want to go there. But yeah, the technology is technology, but it's really the people, right? It's the people that make things go, right? It's being able to listen to your customers and providing services and not thinking of it from that technology perspective. And I think that's where the technology, like us as technology leaders, that's where things have changed quite a bit. It's not so much about how technical you are, right? Although I do believe that is very important. I don't think it's the most important skill set for us. It's really about being able to be a business partner, a business enabler, and a collaborator. So that's kind of where I see the people part going. Security, that's something I'm very passionate about. Technically, I came up in the security realm, if you will. So I think it's pretty self-explanatory, but if you follow the news on a daily basis, you see what the security vectors or the attack vectors are out there. All of our entities are at risk, right? Major corporations that have $1 billion of budgets can't keep up. So, the reality is we're always going to be somewhat behind, but that doesn't mean we can't just not do anything, right? Security has to be at the forefront of what we do, has to be baked into whatever solutions that we bring forward. So I don't know if Vitaly's in the room, but I feel a lot more confident with him at the helm. Great state ISO. I don't see him here, but all right.
He's doing the work.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah. Well, we're talking, he's doing the work, so yeah.
There was an earthquake that happened in Northern California earlier, so I'm sure Cal OES and all sorts of stuff are going on right now.
I got to imagine that trumps this, so yeah, okay, all right.
Didn't know if everyone knew that or not, but yeah, there was, if everyone was paying attention to the news, that was why that was shaking, correct?
Oh, wow. I
didn't know if you were, yeah.
Oh, wow, okay, wow, all right. And then when we talk about leading with purpose, I think it really just ties into what I think the rest of the panelists have already talked about. Each of our departments have missions, right? And very meaningful missions. I had the opportunity to work at Health and Human Services with Adam. I work for Labor and Workforce Development now. Very meaningful missions, right? I mean, I think about it from the perspective of you're putting food on the table for folks. You're making sure that people can get benefits so they can provide for their families and have a roof over their head. For me, it doesn't really get much more meaningful than that. And again, coming from private sector and then moving into the state, I'm not gonna lie, that's not why I came to the state. But as I integrated myself and got around like-minded folks like this, it just is contagious how passionate people are about the missions of their organization and supporting the people of California. So that's, when I think of Lead with Purpose, that's our responsibility, right? It starts with people like us to lead and demonstrate the way for our organizations and be a part of that value add, as Ron said earlier. So,
Thank you. Very well said. So our last question for the panelist is, we've been on this journey. Obviously, we've had 1,700 touch points. We've engaged people at all levels. What would be your call to action or a request you'd like to make of our audience, vendor community, government, how they can help us achieve what we're going to be required to do over the next couple years? And so if you, Marcie, are you okay with going first?
Absolutely.
Okay.
This is not just Liana's task or Marcie's or any of the AIOs. It's a difficult task. I think we need to all understand that we need to be unified. Vendor community, same as us. I mean, you want better California, better services for Californians. So we have to unite in trying to improve the services that we offer to the Californians. One story that is kind of closer to my heart, you mentioned that California has so many different cultures and languages. And I have a dad who had a difficulty adjusting when we moved here, and he still doesn't know English, but he needed a driver's license. So when we went to DMV and he found out that he can actually take that exam in Farsi, he was delighted. So these are the services, California has so many different people coming from all over the world because we provide those opportunities. So we have to have a unified vision. We have to make sure that we all get together to understand what this vision is, communicate everything the same, so that we can provide Californians that are from all over the world to the best of our abilities with inclusion, with diversity, with equity, so that we can be of value. We have a California that serves everybody, not just a certain group of people.
Thank you. Adam?
I love that. I've already had my bite at this apple. I get it. I keep telling you what I want for your homework to be. I think the one thing that I'll add that I haven't mentioned when I talk about our strategic plan is it's not, read it once and move on, though you do need to read it at least once, everyone. Right? But both, like for myself and with the Envision 2026, like we want this to be something readily available, right, on your virtual desktop, or if you like to print things like Ron.
Old school. From the 90s. Print it out.
Right, so you can refer back to it. This is intended to be living documents. These are intended to be things that really do influence the way we make decisions. So when you're looking at RFPs, when you're taking on that challenge of being courageous, right, and coming to your state partners and educating us, right, about the possibilities. We want you to have them readily at hand so you can refer back and say, here's how we would help you do that. And that's not something that you can read at once and remember those things. And so keep them handy, take a look at them, remind us of the things that we need to be reminded of.
Thank you, Adam. Ron?
Don't print it out? Is EPA? No, I think
Killing trees, yeah.
At least take a look. You launched the Envision 2026.cdt.ca.gov website. So there it is. Click on that and take a look at it. Tell one person. And per the earthquake, at one of the breaks earlier, I was talking with my colleagues at Cal OES, and I was like, don't you guys have to go? Like, isn't there something for you to do? And they were like, yeah, we have our teams on it. We're getting 20 messages because of the work we did, Director, with the stabilization and the Technology Modernization Fund program. Their warning system actually kicked in, and because of those things, they were having people do the work. So I
You
think
sound like
that
a proud papa. You we were a part of that, weren't you? To help them get that funding.
yeah, they went through both of the programs, and I was like, do you guys have anything from my talking points while I'm up here? And they're like, I think the message is that there's a lot of good stories that we have of people doing the work. So maybe the first call to action is visit the website. A lot of resources went into not only developing the plan, but making the website. Keep doing the work, and tell one person about the work that you're doing that didn't come here today. And hopefully on the business side of your house. I heard Secretary Badger asking or emphasizing business re-engineering is a thought process, is a mindset of we can always do a little bit better. And I think the first step of that re-engineering process is you got to know what's going on today. You have to, before you can re-engineer, you have to know how the engineering and how the business process works today. So you don't have to get ready for innovation. You don't have to get ready to adopt the principles in the guide if you're ready today. So go to the website, tell a friend about it, and keep doing the good work, and be ready for the next innovation.
Thank you, Ron, for the plug. Appreciate it. How about you, Brian?
You know what? I don't know that I could add much more to that. Yeah. I was just going to say, read it, embrace it, and like you said, don't let it be shelfware, or well, for Ron, shelfware, but virtual shelfware.
It's a living document, Brian. You got to live with it.
No, actually, I appreciate it. I was hoping you would slide it over here so I can look at it.
Yeah, take a look at it.
Yeah, so
Tell your friends.
goal number 3. I was trying to see what the whole title was.
You could tell how the Envision 2026 development went around.
We have a lot of fun. You can see that. But yeah, I mean,
When you're up until 3 a.m. during COVID with these two guys, like you get a different type of friendship.
yeah, you can see we know each other well. But, anyway, my apologies. But again, yeah, don't let it just sit, right? Live it. For you CIOs out there and for you IT leaders out there, make sure that you push that in your organization. I know that that's what we're going to do from our level, is to make sure that it doesn't just sit there, but everything that we do should be tied to something on there. So, thank you.
Great. And I know one thing we didn't mention is there are advisory committees that help us, right? Because we can only be as good as the team members. We talked about empowering people and pushing it. Mm-hmm. So like workforce development, we have new great things coming, like functional titles that align with industry. That actually map back to our classifications. There's some great stuff going on at PDAC for project approval and procurement, and so there's a lot happening. So if you happen to be an IT leader and you want to know more about those advisory committees, because we're only as good as that information that's coming to us. We have a lot of special assignments that come from the administration that we're looking for good assistance on. Let us know. Now we'd like to open it up. I think we have a few minutes, Bill, for questions, if anyone has anything before we wrap up the whole panel.
Thank you so much. Question: what is the difference between Envision 2026 and the California digital strategy that Jonathan showed us?
Well, Envision 2026 is a culmination of all of our strategies. So as we think of our digital equity plan, that involves where we are going from an inclusive perspective, so vulnerable populations are being addressed. Also, when you look at the digital strategy, we're also making sure that we are doing digital experience. And so all of the things that we are working on at all levels, as we work with the chief data officer over there, and there's the digital, the data strategy, all of this comes together in a culmination of what we're going to deliver on behalf of the state. One thing does not exist without the other. So thank you so much for the question.
Very basic question, but how often do you meet, and what's that like? Is it everyone in the room, at the table, each month, or maybe describe how often you meet?
I'll let my vice chair.
I knew there was going to be some responsibility, the one with that title. Yeah, we meet every month, and quarterly we meet in person. And the typical structure is there's been a long-standing committee, the IT Executive Council, ITEC, that's been around for a long time. We still have that, and that's where we get to talk about some of the more CDT-specific functions, responsibilities. We enjoy the opportunity to raise our heads up and think up and out and have these conversations that we're having today. We also have a fair bit of day-to-day operational things that need to go on and that our CIOs depend on us to support. And so we have those opportunities to discuss those through ITEC, provide advice and input to Liana and her team at CDT. And then following that, we bring it down to just the AIOs, and we sit down with Liana and Jared Johnson and occasionally some of the senior staff of CDT to talk about specific items. Obviously, for the last year, we've spent a fair bit of time working on Envision 2026, brainstorming, a lot of Post-its used, but we also have the opportunity to delve deep into specific topics that we collectively identify as opportunities to help improve the way that we can be working together.
So like we have workforce development as an advisory committee, so we're looking at how do we bring, as we know, so a lot of folks are going to be retiring in the next few years. How do we recruit and retain talent? How do we build diversity into our recruitment talent pool? Obviously, some of us are piloting what CalHR is doing as they redact, people's address and names. We talked about functional titles. ISAC on the security side. We hear our security briefings. So again, it's not CDT specific. It's really what do we need to know as leaders of state technology so that we can go and make good decisions. So a lot that's going on. And the agenda changes depending on the need. We've got had a recent new threat on several fronts and had a confidential discussion about what that is and how do we address it and how do we share that with our CIOs. But the also is, Marcie may be having a struggle or challenge or an opportunity to excel and share her experience on another agency or department. So it's also how do we cross-pollinate and share amongst each other. I know you guys are doing a lot of that. Yeah, lessons learned.
Also, I think, Bill, one of the questions that you asked in the email, how often do you guys meet, kind of made me think, okay, outside of SDC and ITEC, I think we need to also meet to share ideas, challenges, lessons learned. And we are starting that in January to just unofficially to meet and share ideas. I think as AIOs that have been around for many years, I think we can kind of share ideas among each other so that we can solve problems outside of the official role that we have.
Mm-hmm. Because when we talk, we find that many of our problems are shared problems. Right?
Exactly.
So that's one of the great things that when we get together, we can share, we can brainstorm and try to make a better California. So.
Yeah, what was interesting throughout all of our meeting for strategic plan was we are talking about all these business needs that we have, but also every challenge that we have, we share those challenges as well. We can't hire the right people, or it takes so long to hire people. We have siloed environments. We have data that is not consolidated. So we have so many shared issues that I think we can resolve together.
Ready. Other questions? Move one over here, Bill.
Carl Engel with Allianz Strategies. Thank you for your continued support of the state. Followed you all as leaders for a long time. Under the Envision 2026, continually future-proof the business of development. How do you seek to help the smaller departments keep up the pace? Because this is a bold vision, and the larger organization will be able to embrace that. But how are you looking to help the smaller ones keep that pace?
Go ahead.
I mean, that's a great question. So for labor, we have some really small entities, right? Boards, commissions. I think part of that is starting to look at things, we can tackle things from a state perspective, that's huge, right? So we've started to each look at things from an agency perspective at labor, and I know that that's happening in the other entities as well, to look at how are there opportunities that maybe some of the larger departments from a resource perspective can help some of those smaller entities meet those business needs. But you make a great point. I mean, some of these entities have 1 or 2 IT staff. I mean, one person calls in sick and you have nothing, right? So, I mean, it's hard to get things done when you talk about projects and things like that. But then you have these huge entities that have hundreds of IT folks. And why aren't we helping each other? Why aren't we looking at things from that agency perspective, not just with people, but also, and I don't know how, we have a lot of vendors in the room, contracts, right? We have the power of buying in bulk, if you will. So those are things that we're doing, and I know, I'll kind of turn it over to others, but I think they're probably doing the same thing.
We are doing the same thing in transportation. We have BOPC, that's only 4 people. So how can they have an IT team that could help them, and they have a modernization project? A lot of their stuff is in boxes, so they need to automate and digitalize their systems. So we have Caltrans helping out. So there are small entities like CTC. Caltrans supports them in IT. So it's very difficult to have a 20 people or 4 people organization to have all the necessary technology team to make them basically work in an environment that's so digitalized. So we created this big brother, little brother kind of a theme that the large departments help out the little ones.
Now, I'll also say on the flip side, it's interesting that when you talk about the strategy and how are we going to implement that and bring them along, actually the small departments are very easy. Because when you talk about folding them into shared services, to integration, to building out capabilities, they're like, yes, right here, build me something. I don't care if it's only half of what I need, I will take it, right? Because that's the environment that they work in. The communication that Marcie and I were talking about really needing to do for the strategic plan, actually you spend a lot of that time with the big shops because they do it all themselves. They've got a team, they know how to do this. They've got PM shops, they've got IT procurement experts, right, that do these things. And so for them, you really have to get into that. The with them for them isn't that they get services out of it, it's that we can do what we do better collectively, that service to the people of California is better. You need to walk to that level. The smaller shops, that is also the with them. But just on the surface, the WIFM is getting those things that they don't have the capability. And so there is kind of with both the big and small kind of different challenges that you have to help work through.
And also we can look at, and this is in my future, look at agency-wide services.
Yes.
Things that are similar.
Yep.
Why do we have 10 different things that are doing the same thing?
Yep.
So maybe we can look at agency-wide.
Yeah, and I will say,
sorry, go ahead.
sorry, just the challenge to vendors, I think people always get surprised when I tell them that we're doing that too in CalHHS, and right, they're like, oh, vendors must be mad. And I mean, yeah, sometimes it does create challenges in the competitive environment, but often they're like, oh man, such a pain for us to do each one of these contracts with your shops. Like, we're happy to talk to you about negotiating so that we can simplify this process because it's inefficient for you too, right? And so I think that there is opportunities there for parties on all sides to come to the table.
Hi there. So it's clear that this plan emerged from a pretty close community. Loved hearing about that, loved seeing that too. And then the rhythm that community maintains. But when thinking about the community that this plan is for, are there gaps that you would love to see filled? What would you love to see from that community to be building from this plan the way that you see it?
Can I take a crack first? I think part of the community is all of you innovators out there, the ones that have a booth, for you to click on the plan as well. And when you're bringing the ideas and you're bringing the pitches in to us of how you can help us, it's alignment not only with Envision 2026, but be in alignment with our agency and our department strategic plans. Like, those are table stakes. Like, read those first. And because I think that's a gap for some, and being gracious, maybe it's a new role that people are taking on, but that would really help help me out as an AIO when I need to know where to direct you. Full disclosure, we run a very lean shop at a government operations agency. And my AIO office, Marcie and I were joking earlier, I was like, oh, you have 6? Okay, I got 2. So our budget per se is not up for grabs, but the departments have tons of opportunities and problems that they're trying to solve. So just as a gap in knowledge, be up to date on where we're at with this Envision 2026, the department strategic plan and the agency goals and objectives too. That would really help out to parse out where I need to direct you within our agency.
Yeah, and I'll just add, when we step into the room and we have those conversations, I mean, yeah, we have a dynamic and we're joking around out here, but we represent our departments and our department CIOs. So we have those conversations with them and then bring in those perspectives. And look, we don't all agree on everything. I'm sure there are things that people will look at that and think there are other potential opportunities. And I think that's great. We want to hear it, right? Because nothing's perfect. And as we said, these things are working and living documents. So hopefully in 2 years we do, is it 2 years, right? 2 years?
2024, 2025,
Yeah,
and 2026.
gosh,
So 1 year's already passed.
Yeah,
But we were
okay.
actually innovating and delivering at the
Yes,
same time.
all right, there it
we
is.
do it. We fly the plane and change the engine.
There you
Very
go.
agile.
So a lot of opportunity there, to your point. But that's a great question.
I'll also say one of the gaps is who it's written for, and that people assume it's just the IT folks, and that couldn't be further from the truth. So particularly to our public sector partners in the room, share this with your program, with your chief deputies, with your directors, right? That they need to understand this, because the point of it is their services, their programs. So if they're not on board, if they don't understand where we're going, right, they're gonna keep driving forward. Well, just get my RFP out. You're like, well, no, hold on. Like, we need to talk about the right way to do this, right? And again, they're like, well, but I've got people who need this service and they need it yesterday, right? And we need to have those conversations, so they need to understand that value that we're bringing from that enterprise perspective too.
And the only thing I'd add, I know I'm the moderator, is that we're doing a lot at the local government level. And so you saw earlier we were talking about the transportation we're talking about SAC-RT. We've been talking to the BARTs and the different entities. I know CARES is dealing with counties, and so we are doing outreach, even though they aren't subject to the plan. We want to make sure they benefit from the plan, because again, state, county, city, where things happen is at the lowest level. So the more we can influence that positive change, we're doing the generative AI, look at how much we're reaching out, and we've actually started talking to San Jose, and we're meeting with the federal government. I really see that it has fostered partnerships at all levels. So even there's a gap because they're not required by statute to follow our plan, I feel like we're doing change through influence. And so I'm just really proud of where this is going to go over the next few years and live beyond.
So everybody in town is talking about 2 words, budget cuts. So what's your perspective from IT leadership standpoint? Like, what was the experience, insights from AIO and CIO office?
Interesting. I don't know, but Brian, do you want to start? I mean,
Yeah, I'll take a
we've all
shot at
lived
it.
through budget,
Yeah.
and we always make things happen. I think I've got it like I don't have my project team. I think I have, 200, I don't know, it's a really large portfolio right now that we're overseeing.
Yeah, I
so
mean,
yes, Brian.
I know, yeah, I mean, obviously we know what the budget situation is, but the reality is I don't think it really changes how we work, right? Ron talked about efficiency earlier. We should always be looking for efficiencies, whether the budget is good or what it is now, right? So, we mentioned earlier agency-wide opportunities. In a perfect world, right, we'd have statewide opportunities, but we've got to take it a little bit at a time, right? That's a pretty big step, right? What did you say, 150 departments? So looking at it from an agency perspective, and I think this is what my peers are doing as well in our conversations, is look for those opportunities to be efficient and save money and help some of the smaller departments, as you alluded to, maybe have an opportunity to leverage some technology or software that they might not be able to on their own, right? They just don't have those resources. So to answer that question, I would say it really doesn't change what we do. Yeah, maybe it forces your hand a bit, but we should be looking for those opportunities regardless, and we are. So thank you.
Any other answers on You've all been able to make things happen.
Hey, this is not the first time that we've had budget issues. I mean, every time we are always looking for efficiencies and reducing waste so that we can accomplish the things that are really necessary to get accomplished.
Liana, you're going to say the size of the state IT project portfolio is plus 200 and billions of dollars. In my 26 years in state service, there has never been an endless supply of resources so we could do all the projects on the list. So it's always a rank and prioritization process of seeing how we can get the greatest impact to all involved. And like Brian was saying, this is a time maybe not to be looking out the window and see what else we could do, but look inside the walls and see how we can get our own shops more efficient and operating as effective as possible.
Okay, one more last question.
They can't help themselves unless they...
Thank you. I'm between us and the end of the session, so I appreciate it. As you all are evaluating a program or project against Envision 2026, and you're looking to see if it checks the boxes, can you talk about what you might be looking for in the workforce development category? Like, what kind of components are you reading for, or what's going to check that box?
Oh, lots of things. Gosh, I mean, we're already over, since we talked about 2024, I mean, look what CalHR has been able to do on the artificial intelligence, and then what we've been doing at CDT to make sure staff are ready, not for just today, but the emerging technology. We've actually been working with the vendor partners, and they've been offering certifications in generative AI almost free for the state workforce. I did a complete mapping of all of our IT classifications and the industry standards against several domains again, so people aren't going, what is a software specialist? One, that doesn't mean anything, that's how you get paid, but I'm a security engineer. So we want to make sure that it's really relevant, and so there's some of the things that the workforce has been working on. Recruitment efforts, how do we make sure that we are recruiting? A lot of internships that we've been doing, but taking that to the next level. Actually, I know
So
you're the liaison that actually works in the
You
WEDAC.
covered most of it already, so I think we got it. But yeah, I mean, just looking at opportunities to shrink those hiring windows, right? This is a pilot that's underway with multiple departments. I don't think it's a secret that it takes the state a while to actually, from the time of posting a job to actually hiring someone, and this is no disrespect to anybody, but it can be kind of slow, right? So I'll just use that term. So we are looking to see, this goes back to the efficiency, right? We're trying to be more efficient in how we do things, and that's definitely one thing we can do, because I think for many of the state leaders in the room, I'm sure you've lost candidates because of those timelines. I know I have, right? You interview somebody, and then it takes X amount of time, and it's no fault of anyone. In some cases, I'm gonna be honest, sometimes it's me, right? Not taking care of what I need to in a timely manner because I'm distracted with other things. So, but it has happened, right? So how do we become more efficient, right? Looking at those opportunities to shrink those windows. We talked about bulk hiring, right? So for certain classifications, can multiple departments share and do one opportunity bulletin and do a bulk hire? Those are the kinds of things that we look at. So those would fit in that goal. And I think maybe what you're asking too is some of the projects that we do may not fit in every single goal, right? Some of the more business-focused goals, right? Those may not fit into that specific goal, but there are many that are underway and with partnerships with GovOps and CDT and CalHR. So.
Well, and Brian, just to elaborate on that, I mean, you had the WEDAC, they actually looked at 5 or 6 different departments, and believe it or not, we all hired, the process wasn't exactly the same. It wasn't consistent. Even though we follow CalHR rules, there is our HR shops do things very uniquely.
Very
so
different.
By looking at the data, having the group actually come up with a recommendation to us to vote on, is this a standard process, and then how do we get the rest of the departments to fall in line with that? And then partnering really close with CalHR, making sure we're not. So it's not just talk the talk, you're walking the walk. So my hat's off to all the work that you guys are doing at the WEDAC.
Yeah, it's a great team. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be a part of it.
The one thing I'd add on this is a bit of a niche, but the first goal of an inclusive digital experience for all, tied in with workforce, something we're very focused on in CalHHS is to have an inclusive digital experience for all, you need to hire people who know what's needed. right? It's one thing to go talk to them. It's another for someone who grew up on these programs to be at the table helping design it, right? We need to do a better job of government is hiring the people that we serve, because there's no one better to be informing us on what those needs are.
I think part of that hiring, too, for the workforce, moving the needle on that and checking the box or ensuring alignment with that is the Wayne Gretzky quote is how are you so successful, Wayne Gretzky? Because I don't skate to where the puck is, I skate to where it's going to be. And part of that is our reflection as technology leaders is ensuring that we're upskilling our teams so that we're getting their skills to where we're going to be in the future. We're not teaching them the programming classes of today.
COBOL and Pascal, we're not actually teaching those anymore?
Not anymore.
We should be.
I don't think anybody is.
And I think, Liana, the story was told earlier, and I see Shara, your team in the audience, the team that was working on the legacy systems and supporting mainframe apps is the same team that is operating the Gen AI sandbox for things. And so it's not a matter of do we have the skills, it's giving people the opportunity and matching the upskill to the occasion.
All right, with that, we're going to drop the mic. An amazing panel of IT leaders. Thank you so much.